This podcast contains spoilers for Tommy Wiseau's The Room and James Franco's The Disaster Artist.
Oh, that's the sound of yerba mate.
That
right
is
there.
your listen.
Mine is carbonated this time.
Ooh.
Oh, that surprised you? The bubbles?
It did a little bit.
Get you up in your nose and back of your throat?
Yeah, I was shocked.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah, it's good.
Yes. Well, that was our ceremonial opening of the episode with the opening of the cans of yerba mate. That being our sponsor, Guayaki organic brand yerba mate, come to life.
Thanks, Guayaki.
Yeah,
Thanks, Guayaki.
great people over there.
Yeah.
Great people.
They keep it real.
Oh, yeah.
They keep it real so that we can keep it real.
Yes.
And that is exactly what you get here on the Talkies.
The real.
You get the real.
Reality.
There's no facade here. Right? We tell it like it is.
We make movies great again.
Oh, man.
Unless they suck.
Unless they,
Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty.
No bringing back sucky movies.
So since our last episode, a lot has happened.
Yeah, a little bit.
Shaved Taylor's head.
Yeah, so I'm bald now.
Where'd your head go? Your head.
My head.
Where'd your hair go?
I shaved his hair, I guess.
Kenny decapitated me.
Kenny.
More of a butt. We did it on Facebook Live, so if you go to the Carmen Line Studios Facebook page, you can watch a video of me shaving Taylor's head. It was
It was fun.
It was fun. It's
quite cool.
It really looks like a terrorist video because he's sitting in our black set. He's lit from directly above. He's shrouded in this black cape thing.
Yeah, it was very intimidating.
We should have had like our voices all manipulated.
Yeah, we're shaving Taylor's head now.
Yeah. So, what else is new, guys?
I'm married.
You got married?
Yeah, I got married.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Is it that Russian?
Yeah, it's
girl
Helga
from the mail. The one you were writing letters.
It's not a mail order bride. Just to get that out of the way.
Okay.
I did have to pay to use the service that allows us to communicate. But like I had to pay travel fees But she's here now.
Good. That's good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I love her.
all right. Just throwing this out there for everyone listening. Taylor needs a real girlfriend. Don't listen. He doesn't know what love is. He needs someone. He needs help. Reach out. Tweet at Taylor Schofield. Ladies, line up. All right.
What brings us here today?
What brings us here today is it's another joyous day at Carmen Line.
Yes. Joyous.
Yeah.
Because we get to once again, for the second movie in a row, talk about a movie we liked.
Yeah. I look forward to it.
We actually like movies here at Carmen Line.
We
Yeah,
usually
believe it or not.
hate movies. It's actually in the description of the podcast. It says we talk about the movies we love and hate, but mostly hate. Yeah.
That's how it's been so far.
It's yeah.
It's an unfortunate ratio of bad to good movies.
I've been comparing our content with other podcasts that are out there who review movies, and I find we are generally not on the same page with most of the people who are reviewing films. And I think is because most of these people are fans of consuming movies, whereas we're fans of making movies, and have a very different lens that we bring to the whole thing.
Yeah, it's just a different perspective.
Yeah. So if you're a filmmaker and you hear that Talkies is covering your movie,
We apologize in advance.
all right, let's
Unless
dig
it's good.
in
Sorry.
to The Disaster Artist. So I maybe heard about this movie almost like a year ago and had been just really excited, looking forward to it for a long time because I had seen The Room. Should we preface this conversation with a brief talk about our experiences with The Room?
The Room, sure.
Probably.
Before we dig into Disaster Artist?
Yeah, it seems like it's a prerequisite almost.
Yes. All right. So, Come on, Taylor. Jeep, 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 jeep.
Well, I've been a fan of The Room for quite a few years now. I really, really love films that are so bad it's good. So Neil Breen films are amazing. Tommy Wiseau. The Room is probably the best of them all. I just adore everything about The Room. Everything about it. I totally adore it. It's so... Okay, it is bad. It's a very sloppy, kind of unique... That's what's interesting about it. It's a unique disaster of a film. It's kind of like a disaster that most films... No film can really be that kind of a specific disaster where you can see the sincerity coming through from Tommy Wiseau, but it's just everything around him is just falling flat in this really uncanny way. And so I've had many, many, many laughs.
When was the first time you saw The Room? How did you know about it?
I heard about The Room through... I can't remember where I heard. It's like one of those things like I've just always known. It's just through osmosis or something. I've just always known about The Room. And the first time I watched it, I think I watched it over Skype with my group of friends, and we all synced it up and watched it. Yeah, and it was...
I think that's probably the best movie experience.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was a total blast. We were just dying the whole way through. Yeah. Actually, a recent memory I have of it, because I watched it again a few months before Disaster Artist came out, and I was introducing it to my friend who had never heard of it or seen it at all.
Nice.
And we kept hyping him up for it. We're like, you're about to watch like a cinematic experience that's unparalleled. We didn't give him any context whatsoever. And then the movie starts and Tommy walks through the door. He bursts through the door. He's like, "Oh, hi, lovely," or whatever. And then like Denny's like up there, and we're dying laughing, and he's just like sitting there like, what is happening right now?
I think it's a unique film that both film critics and film audiences who consume movies can both look at the film and laugh at the weirdness of everything.
Yeah,
because I think it's like they talked about inside the movie of Disaster Artist. It's about a guy who has enough money to produce such a film and produce a film with such talent, but at the same time know nothing about filmmaking.
Right.
Yeah, he just did it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah, and reportedly spent like $6 million.
Right.
You know? So like I've seen plenty of movies that were bad because of the combination of inexperience and lack of resources. But this is that very rare combination of inexperience and more or less unlimited resources.
Yeah.
Right? Right?
Yeah, for an indie film.
Do you want to tell about when you first saw The Room?
I do. Yeah, so I actually, like Taylor, just kind of felt like I always knew about it. So I was in film school when I first heard about it, and it was through a couple close friends of mine who were always talking about The Room, and I had always heard the quotes and everything. I just never knew where it came from. So I never watched it all the way through. I kept watching parts of it, and then the first time I watched it all the way through was actually in preparing for seeing this movie in theaters. So I had seen most of the clips already because we'd watched it on YouTube with like a bunch of friends of mine. But I did it with I watched it with Amy, with my wife, and we sat down and I prefaced her about what The Room was about, and then we watched it and just lost it like the entire time. Like she fell in love with this weird experience, and I got to see more of what I missed before of like the incredible violence that was in like some parts and like like you said, the sincerity in a lot of it. Yeah. So I'm really happy I got to have that experience. So that was my first full-time experience, and then I appreciated the Disaster Artist even more.
I learned about it from Taylor.
Did you?
Yeah. We were talking about, like worst movies of all time, and like Troll 2 came up. And then he told me about The Room. And this was like 3 to 4 years ago. And I watched it, and there are some movies that feel like you're in a dream because you watch it at 2 a.m. But this one felt like I was in a dream in the middle of the day, like for no other reason, but that it was just, there's something that's just tone deaf throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
And it's hard to put your finger on. There's just so many things not going wrong, but going weird.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
It's
what
just
it is.
going weird. Like, it's like there's one thing is mistakes is one thing, but it's an entirely another thing to just not understand like humans or store like, you know,
It was different culture, I think.
weird
Yeah.
stuff.
Or at least from what Disaster Artist showed us, different culture, right?
Yeah,
he
maybe.
This obsession with American cinema is what drove him to it, but then he never really understood American cinema.
Or American things.
Right.
Yeah.
Like when like he's standing with the guys and they're all like, "Let's play football," and they start like flipping a football back and forth. They're like 4 feet apart, and they're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "We're playing football."
It's like, no, you're not.
That's how you play football.
You're
And
just
then
playing catch.
The other thing that makes you feel really like just sort of feel awkward throughout the room is that almost the entire movie is ADR.
Oh yeah.
So meaning they've gone on in after the fact to re-record audio, but they did not have like a sound engineer design the rest of the soundscape. So you have all these scenes where you hear the voices of the actors crystal clearly, but like the door that he just shut doesn't make any noise.
Right.
And his footsteps across the room don't make any noise. So it feels really weird. And you're
Yeah.
like, why does this feel so weird?
It's dreamy. That is kind of surreal.
Yeah. Sound profiling also, where you have someone who's right here or who's way back here.
Yeah.
You know? And they
the
still sound like
3D
they're right here.
stereo image is all over the place.
Right.
And then all these green screen stuff. He did
Oh,
this green
yeah.
screen
Jeez.
composite work.
The
Where,
composite was actually pretty good.
except that the background is in like perfect sharp focus,
Right.
as is the foreground. You know, so it
Deep field. Bring it back. Citizen
yes,
Kane style.
Very interesting.
Citizen Kane style, yeah.
Anyway, The Room is the quintessential so bad it's good movie. It has this enormous cult following for many years now. Tommy Wiseau has appeared in person at screenings all over America and elsewhere. And it's been just quite the interesting phenomenon. And then comes along Disaster Artist.
Right.
So, let's dig in then, right?
Yeah. I'm excited.
The actual movie we're here to talk about.
Yeah.
A movie about a movie.
A movie about a movie. And I love movies about movies.
Me too.
I love
Yeah.
filmmaker movies. It's like one of my favorite categories of films.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty good because they not only take like a unique stance on a story, but it has like it's I don't know how do you say it. It's not made for selling, you know, Disney. It's made for telling a story. It's made for telling something.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And this tells the story of how we got The Room.
Right.
The official synopsis says, when Greg Sestero, an aspiring film actor, meets the weird and mysterious Tommy Wiseau in an acting class, they form a unique friendship and travel to Hollywood to make their dreams come true. Directed by James Franco, also starring James Franco as Tommy Wiseau, also starring his brother Dave Franco, and Dave's wife, Allison Brie, who, just gonna throw this out here, I went to high school with. Allison, if you're listening, hi. Go Tigers. Class of 2001. So where to begin?
The Disaster Artist is about a book. So it's based upon a book of the same title, The Disaster Artist.
Yep.
Written by Greg Sestero, who is the co-star of The Room, who plays opposite of
plays
Johnny.
Mark.
Yeah, he plays Mark.
Right.
So in the book, Greg recounts the entire making of process, how he met Tommy, what happened on set and all that, and what led to the creation of that movie. And that is where this film, The Disaster Artist, takes all of its story and content from. So that's kind of crazy in and of itself.
Yeah, it's also cool to have like sort of a biopic, true story sort of film, where the maker of the film worked intimately closely with the two sources.
Right. Yeah.
Both Greg and Tommy, I guess, worked directly with James Franco throughout the whole process. Tommy appeared regularly with James Franco doing the press tour for the film, and was constantly reinforcing the idea that this was a very accurate retelling.
That's so cool to have something like that. Like, it's not a film that criticizes The Room so
Not
much
at all.
as it just recounts how weird everything was.
It actually makes me appreciate The Room so much
Even more. Yeah. At a different level. Yeah.
Talked about this before, how after reading George Lucas's biography, it left me appreciating the Star Wars prequels, which forever I had heaped all kinds of hate on. And most people still do.
Yeah.
But just after understanding the backstory of like what he went through to do that, and the great lengths and achievements he had to make to make those, I was like, no, these respect, mad respect. And now I feel that way about The Room too. As I get the background story, I'm gonna watch it with new eyes now and just be like, you know what, this is a freaking achievement.
Definitely.
I don't care how bad it is. He's done something here. He's really done something.
It's also very it's very heartfelt. Like, it's such a hard balance to where you want to acknowledge what's funny about Tommy as a person, but you don't want to be making fun of him or antagonizing him, or you don't want to be making like kind of be hateful of The Room when you're making this kind of movie. And he finds this perfect balance of showing the humor in it while also retaining that Tommy is not just this weirdo. Sure, he's eccentric, but he's a regular person like everybody else, and he has passions like everybody else, and he's very motivated to achieve his goals.
At least based on the movie, I'd say he's more of a human than everybody else. He, I actually was very inspired by Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah.
And I think that in the film, the sort of humanity's face in the film is sort of portrayed through the character of Greg. Dave Franco's character is the one the audience is supposed to be identifying with.
Right.
But boy, I felt myself slipping back into Tommy's shoes many times. You know?
As a filmmaker. Right?
Yeah.
I can see
like,
that.
I want to go for it like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I would get pumped up every time that Tommy was like trying to get Greg to do stuff. You're like, yeah, man.
Yeah. There's so the very first scene of the movie, they're in acting class, and Dave Franco's character, Greg, has just done a scene in front of an audience and his teacher just ridicules him. I forget what she said, but it was harsh,
Yeah. Oh, she goes, are you sure you want to be an actor? And he goes,
yes.
Yeah, but it sure doesn't look like it.
Something
like that.
And so she invites, she says, is there anyone here who's willing to show their real self to us, to expose themselves to us today? And Tommy goes, I'll do it. and like
with zero fear.
Yeah.
He goes up and just gives this like crazy over the top performance where everyone's just kind of like, whoa, oh my gosh.
Right?
And what it stirs in Greg is not. It has nothing to do with quality.
Right.
It has nothing to do with if he's actually acting well. It had to do with fearlessness.
Yeah.
Right. And the first time they're together, they go to a restaurant, and he, Greg thinks we're just gonna read lines of a play together over some pancakes, but Tommy is like, no, we're gonna do this like it's real, and he stands up, and they're projecting against each. They're yelling.
Yeah.
They make a scene. Everyone in the restaurant is just freaking out.
It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie, right there.
Yeah, it's
Super
awesome,
great.
and I found that like totally inspiring.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
Let's all live a little bit more like Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah.
I think that's the lesson of this movie.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, he certainly takes on the role of the villain later.
Yeah,
Right.
He has his moments of being pretty much just being an asshole to the crew and being, doing what he does, like with not getting water for the crew and stuff like that.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
When he flipped out on the actress he was about to do the sex scene with, and he just flipped out because I don't know, she had
acne or something.
Yeah, she like flipped out and he started calling her ugly. And
Yeah, jeez.
Started screaming. I felt so bad.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to be there at that moment. I shouldn't be here.
It was so cool because he's one of those villains where he starts out as someone that you can relate with, right, and then he keeps going until you're like, oh no, he's gonna turn into something else, and then he does, and then you feel so, you feel everything because of that, and it's very emotional.
Yeah,
I like that kind of stuff, where the villain is actually explained well.
Yes, and borderline, I hesitate calling him a villain because he's not really a villain, but
Right.
he just is he gets very caught up in everything and all the stress of making the film that it just brings the worst out in him. One moment that really resonated with me where I was laughing throughout most of the film and just having a really fun time, but as soon as that sex scene we were talking about, Tommy pulls Greg aside and he says, "We're making this movie together. I spent over $6 million on this movie." And it's like, whoa, that is serious. That's a lot of money to personally put into a project. And so that kind of establishes a certain kind of weight. And you kind of understand, it doesn't excuse his actions, but you understand where he's coming from. And I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
I want to take a sidestep real quick and acknowledge that when talking about the disaster artist, a lot of people, just as we're doing right now, talk about the story because it's something that you can relate with, and it's a really good story. I think the written material is probably top notch, but the film itself is something that's different, right? The film, how the film was made, what actors they use for certain reasons and stuff like that, and how the film came together as a whole is just kind of a mediocre-ish film. It does stuff well, and I think it's because it's written really, really well, and it makes you kind of bypass all the other things that are happening. James Franco aside, because James Franco is crazy good in this movie, because it's basically one big impression, and the impression just lasts forever, and it's really good. But the other stuff, the way the other actors acted, or the way the cinematography was, or the emotional tones, or the rhythm and stuff like that. Let's talk about a bit of the technicality of the film itself.
Yeah.
Well, so and maybe this is just a credit to the very good writing, but this was one film where I really got
Swept
tied
up, right?
I got swept up.
I did too.
I don't remember a moment where I thought that was a weird choice or a bad choice. There might have been some performance stuff that was a little stilted, but mostly not. I thought it was pretty well performed, the whole movie.
I think most of it was pretty well performed. Like you said, there was nothing that really jumped out to me that was like, oh, that's bad.
Yeah.
And the only thing that made me kind of weird was Dave Franco's performance a little bit. Was was odd sometimes, but that's it. YMS, the guy who does YourMovieSucks.org, did a review of this movie, and he said that he thought it was fine, and basically talked about how James Franco was doing a needless impression, that James Franco shouldn't have been in the movie, that it should have just been about, it should just star Tommy. And I thought that was interesting. I don't know what to say about that.
Tommy should have played himself?
Yeah.
That would have been really meta.
That would have been insane.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have turned out. I actually think that would have been worse.
If they talked about narratively like that, but I think if they made it more of like a re-dramatization,
Do you think they could have directed Tommy Wiseau?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I think
that's
could.
impossible. Yeah.
Right. Because Tommy playing himself.
Yeah, it just can't.
To be fair, I've actually been told that there are many films where James Franco is a freaking great actor, where he's had like just amazing performances.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them. Not really. I mean, I've seen some of his comedy roles where he's just perfect because it's written for James Franco.
Yeah.
You know, The Interview was that type of role.
Yeah.
You know, but boy, he was amazing in this. Like, that was a transcendent performance. I did not see the actor at all. I did not see James Franco playing Tommy Wiseau. I didn't.
Right. That's the same thing with me.
Yeah.
I thought that was really quite a feat.
In fact, I kept thinking, man, Dave Franco looks like James Franco. I never thought Tommy Wiseau looks like James Franco in this movie. I didn't. Like, he was gone.
Yeah.
This is the best performance I've ever seen from him. Definitely.
I think so, yeah.
And if Dave Franco struggled at all, I think it actually added to the character that he was playing, because he's playing an actor who struggles.
Yeah.
Like, it worked. I felt like his performance had a certain amount of insecurity that might have been more genuine than we know.
Maybe
it felt very real.
To me, it wasn't so much the insecurities that he was playing that was weird. It was weird the way he was playing the insecurities. Like, he would always, to me anyway, he would always approach a problem that his character was facing the same exact way. So much so that it didn't seem organic. It seemed like he was reading from a script. Whereas Tommy's character, James Franco, is so weird that his motivating factors were fine throughout the whole thing because he's weird.
Yeah.
Right? And then a lot of other people didn't even have a whole lot of dialogue. So it is an unfair advantage. You know, it's an unfair scale between the other people and Dave, because Dave has a lot more speaking lines than everyone else does. But
Yes. Yeah. I can't really think of much technical stuff. Actually, I can't think of anything in specific technically that stuck out as me as even like mediocre or anything like that. I think probably the weakest aspect of the whole film would be probably Dave's performance, but that's not even, I wouldn't even say that was like a straight up weak performance, you know?
no, I mean, it wasn't bad.
I get what you're saying, where he does, like you were telling us about this earlier, another day or something like that, where he has the same kind of, Dave Franco has the same sort of emotional expression to everything, where it's like, can you explain that maybe better than I can?
I explained it to, I think both of you guys. When I was producing the film, and I had a casting director who told me to be wary of actors who come in and do an over-the-top expression of their character, because every time that they do, it's what they're showing is their only thing. So if you give them like a different character or a completely different facade or something like that, then they won't know what to do. They'll take that character and they'll try to portray it the same way they did with the other one, and it doesn't work. And I saw that a few times. There was a guy who came in who was just yelling the whole time, and I thought it was amazing. I was like, this is perfect for my character. And, you know, maybe it would have been, but what it goes to show is that people who are not very good actors will not be able to find out what their motivation is for every single scene. Instead, it's just one big motivation that's connecting their whole character. And I think that's what Dave had in this, was like, my character is confused at this weird guy. And that's what it is the whole time.
Yeah.
You know?
And that kind of like in between wanting to be with him and wanting to get away from him and that awkward.
Right. And there were really good moments.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Like you said, Dave is not bad at all in this film. Or Dave. Yeah, Dave.
Yeah.
Dave and Greg. Dave was not bad at all in the film.
Dave, Greg, Mark.
Dave, Greg, Mark. And I think that's what's hard about judging a film that's so good, and then at the same time missing like the greatness marks, like the things that puts it way over the top, is because how do you say, well, that could have been the best, you know?
Right. Yeah, it gets kind of tricky. But the writing, like you're saying, the writing is so strong. It's crazy.
It is
so strong.
That's a script you could just sit down and read.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Bryan Cranston.
Yeah.
Did a phenomenal job playing himself. I thought he nailed himself real good.
Bryan Cranston nails himself pretty good.
That's Bryan Cranston does Bryan Cranston really well. I actually, if I'm going to have a complaint about the movie, there's only one. There's one moment that I was like, that was unnecessary. And you know what it was? It was the big Zac Efron head fake.
Zac Efron?
Yeah, they had a Zac Efron scene where he plays Chris R. doing his like mugging thing.
Yeah.
But he's got his beanie on, and they never show him close up. You can't tell it's Zac Efron.
Oh.
Then at the premiere, they do this close up on him, and they're like, they do this whole like, "Who are you?" And he goes, "Oh, I played Chris R." And the audience goes, Zac Efron's in this movie.
Okay.
I mean, it was totally a wink to the camera, surprise, cameo, famous person, Zac Efron's in our movie, joke's on you kind of thing.
So, you know what's funny is I didn't connect that at all, because I'm not a big Zac Efron person, but...
You're not?
I'm not. I know, I must be...
Why not?
Why aren't I... Yeah. But, so when that shot occurred, I was trying to figure out, why did they show that? Like, I'm like, what was the point? Whatever.
Yeah, it was.
So now that you say that,
it was a weird gag. Like, I mean, and it was just that. It was a gag. You
Right.
know, it didn't really have a purpose other than being like, wouldn't it be funny? And I'm sure that's what the thought process was. We should have Zach do this like meaningless role, and then and then we'll reveal it was him later, and it'll be like, oh. So I didn't like that.
I liked the downplaying of Seth in this movie. Like, Seth Rogen usually plays this character that's just always on.
Yeah.
And I don't typically like it too much.
He also is usually the bumbling, buffoonish type. And
right.
He was the smartest guy in the room.
And he was a smart guy,
yeah.
Do you know who played...
I liked him a lot, actually.
The DP in this film?
I don't know. I didn't recognize him
I didn't
at all.
recognize him either, but...
I really liked his character.
Yeah, he was good.
Everyone who played the crew and cast were really believable.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I've been on that set, you know, where everyone is underpaid and overworked, and no one is, you know, like the show is not quite being run as well as it should be, you know, and so there's a little bit of angst, and people are starting to get, you know, you have this whole thing of like, I really want to be here, I desperately want to be here, but holy crap, this is a disaster. You know, it's so, you know, and that's a great commentary on the life, really, of just artists.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
At one point, the actress who plays, she's in here. Let me see. Her name was Jackie Weaver, who played Carolyn / Claudette.
Yeah.
The one who says, "Turns out, I have cancer."
That never comes back.
Yeah, she was quite funny, I thought.
Yeah, I like her.
But she had that line that was one of the great takeaway lines of the movie. Like when Greg asks her, "Why are you here?" You know, like she's apparently been driving like an hour every day to come and work on this movie where she's being like abused, you know. And she says, "Because it's what we do," you know. She's like, "Yeah, this does suck. This is like torture. But seriously, there's nowhere else I'd rather be right now."
Yeah.
You know?
That's it. Yeah, that's a great line.
The worst day on a film set is better than the best day anywhere else.
That's
Right.
that's what they say.
Yeah.
And you know, funny enough, the same thing's true about like why parents keep having babies.
Is that right?
It is. It's totally true. You know, I had another dad tell me that it's like ramming your head against a brick wall, and but you keep doing it because it feels so good when the pain goes away. You know, you know. Sometimes it is like it's the hardest thing in the world, but there's nothing I'd rather be doing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think we've all been in that spot exactly.
Right.
And in many instances together.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a very, very clearly empathetic film with filmmakers.
Yeah.
Very much.
Absolutely. I have one thought about towards the end of the film when he premieres The Room. There's this interesting scene where everyone's laughing at the film. You see shots of the audience just laughing, and then you see a close-up of Tommy sinking into his seat. He's like, tears are starting to like well up, and he runs out.
Yeah.
And then you keep seeing this laughing, and then they show some of the movie, and you kind of start laughing too. So you're laughing with the audience laughing, and then they cut to that shot of Tommy looking like really sad.
Yeah.
And then you kind of start to feel bad.
I did.
Yeah.
Not kinda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that begs the question. Of course, he comes back later, and it's kind of he's really happy because everyone is adoring him. But that makes me question, like, what is the morality of laughing at this film? If it's like it's coming from a place of love, I think, but it is definitely laughing at Tommy, not with him. It is laughing at him.
That was a weird point of the film for me too.
Yeah.
Because I got what the sentiment was, right? It was that we're laughing with because the whole thing was clearly done wrong.
Yeah.
And isn't it funny?
Yeah.
Right. But clearly Tommy thought the film was something much bigger.
Right.
And so I guess the film at that point was trying to show that Tommy, no, you're wrong. What you've made is just something, right? And isn't it great to have made something?
Yeah.
I think that's what they were trying to say, at least.
I think so. I think that what they were saying was that it didn't turn out the way he intended, but it definitely
affected people.
Yeah, in a
Right.
very intense and positive way.
Right.
And where like Greg says, like, you think Hitchcock ever got a response like this? And the audience is just dying.
Right.
Everyone in there is dying.
See, now, like, we talked about Justice League, about how the worst thing it could have been was, like, a very mediocre film.
Yeah.
And it's because when films are that way and you don't get moved by them at all,
Yeah, you just
whether
don't
it's
feel
positive or
anything.
negative, right? Then they're not worth talking about. And you
Yeah.
just don't care about it anymore. I mean, you can just go to Netflix and look at like their endless supplies of, $5 bin movies that are that way.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's actually far worse reactions you could have from your audience, actually.
Right.
Having an emotional response, whether it be laughing or, I guess, the more dramatic response Tommy wanted, is significant versus, and it's far better than having no emotional response.
Right.
I had a screening of one of my films, a feature-length documentary, where there was some malfunction where the sound was coming through about 2 seconds delayed out of the speakers, wasn't synchronized with the picture, right? So we had this really glaring, awful delay. There's no one around to fix it in this instance, so it's just going to play for an hour that way. And digital projection from a laptop, right, where someone had opened up the file, clicked play, and left their mouse on the screen.
Oh my gosh.
Which brings up that progress bar that shows how many minutes have gone by and how many minutes are left.
Oh no.
And there's something horrible that happens when you see a progress bar counting down the minutes and seconds of the movie. It makes the movie feel like it's 100 hours long. It's the worst, right?
Jeez.
And so in that, and I can feel the audience just becoming agitated
Oh my
and
gosh.
uncomfortable and wanting to leave, and then someone does leave.
Oh man.
And I'm just sliding down in my chair, You know,
Yeah.
that's worse.
That's where you'd
that
rather
is
have
terrible.
way worse.
Right. That's where
Yeah.
you'd rather have people going and laughing at your stuff.
Right.
Because you want some sort of reaction.
Yeah, or even being like outraged.
Right.
Right. You know, if your documentary pisses people off,
Good.
that's
Right.
I made a response.
That's something,
in
right.
humans, you know, that's I think the point of what Tommy accomplishes at the end of the film. He may have failed in getting what he wanted, but he succeeded in that he made a very real connection to people at an emotional level.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And I really love that audiences took that emotional feeling, that hysterical laughter they got from the film, and they translated it into like just love for Tommy. Like everyone was just cheering his name like he's like a rock star or something.
Yeah. They didn't. The movie didn't end with them wanting to throw him under the bus.
Yeah.
They wanted to praise him.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And I've seen movies where at the end I want to run the director out of town. So I'm like, you just wasted 2 hours of my life. I hate you now. But you don't feel that way at the end of The Room.
No, it doesn't feel like a waste of time. It actually is kind of valuable.
Yeah.
To watch that movie.
Now, okay, so this is interesting. Then you've seen Neil Breen movies.
Yeah.
Kenny, have you seen?
I've not.
I haven't.
Is that
either.
like Birdemic?
Kind of. It's a different filmmaker.
Okay, who is that?
Neil Breen's this dude who makes his own films, same like Tommy. He self-funds them and he writes and directs and stars in all of his films. And he's made like 6 features by now, all the same way. He's started to dip into crowdfunding lately, though, since he's built an audience for being so absurdly bad, kind of on the Tommy Wiseau level.
Now, does it bring out some sort of reaction? Like Tommy's, like The Room does?
Similar, not to the extreme that Tommy does.
Yeah.
So it's the same laughter that you get from it, but it's a little bit harder to watch, actually, because Tommy Wiseau is a better filmmaker.
Interesting.
Neil Breen movies are not well shot at all. They are not well acted, even for melodrama's sake. And they are the script has zero. Scripts go nowhere. They go nowhere, and they just kind of like sputter around for an hour and a half, and then reach some bizarre conclusion.
But he's got this big following.
Yeah, because his acting is so dry and wooden.
Yeah.
To the point where it just gets hilarious. Yeah.
Interesting.
Is that his intention?
No, I don't think so.
He wants to be taken seriously.
I don't know what he wants, actually.
Okay.
But I don't think he's intending to make bad movies.
Well, compare then The Room and the phenomenon behind it with some of the more tone-deaf films of M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
Right? When M. Night Shyamalan makes a film that everyone thinks is bad or classifies as a bad movie, people hate it.
Right.
Yeah.
People, there's no like cult following behind Lady in the Water
Right.
or The Last Airbender.
Right.
Right? That's not happening.
Right.
Right? So it's like, what's the difference here? I mean, M. Night Shyamalan, I'm sure, was genuinely interested in making something that moved people, especially with Lady in the Water, right? He poured his soul. It was a very personal movie to him.
Yeah.
It went wrong in many, many, many ways.
Maybe it's because Shyamalan was already proven to be a good filmmaker at a time, and to know how to make movies. He had a reputation of being a good filmmaker.
There was an expectation going in.
Yeah. And so when weird stuff happens that doesn't work at all, you feel gypped. Whereas Tommy Wiseau...
That's a racist phrase, by the way. That term is racist.
That is racist.
You shouldn't say that.
I'm so sorry.
You need to have a thank you. Just apologize.
He got filmmaker.
I apologize
he got film
to...
producered.
He got film producered.
That's better. Thank you. Thank you. Just be sensitive.
Sorry, gypsies out there.
I'm sorry. I'm not...
Did you just call them gypsies?
I said sorry for the gypsies out there.
Why are you always bringing up controversial things like gender?
Jeez, man. Jeez.
We had another episode where Taylor suggested that there's a finite amount of genders.
I think you bringing that up is
I'm starting to get triggered.
is getting people triggered now.
I'm sorry. Finish your thought, man. I'm sorry. There's an expectation, and people feel like they didn't get what they came for.
Tommy Wiseau is a nobody that nobody knows. And he doesn't have any formal training for filmmaking. He's never made even a short film before. And then he makes this feature-length film just because he has the money to.
Yeah.
And then he puts it out there, and then it eventually builds a following.
Based around an accurate expectation.
Right.
That you're going to go see a movie that's a total disaster.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's the difference.
That's a good point.
I think it's a really good point. I think if I saw someone who had only made short films before, was a student filmmaker, and they came out with a movie that was like M. Night's The Happening, I probably would have been really impressed, right? As opposed to like, I mean, it'd still be a bad movie.
Sure. But for like a student filmmaker doing little short
Are we
films.
really going to call The Happening a bad movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Happening is a bad movie.
It's almost so bad it's good.
Almost.
There are moments.
Of the Shyamalan canon, it's the closest to a so bad it's good movie.
I agree
the
with
closest.
that.
Because there are moments where I burst into laughter.
Oh, yeah.
That were clearly
in The
dramatic.
Happening.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so Disaster Artist is definitely unique in that way, where it's about a guy who did something that not a lot of people can do.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So I had a really cool audience when I saw it. I saw it in a theater in Las Vegas. Probably 50, 60 people were in there that evening. And when the movie ended, it felt like most of the people in there didn't really know each other. Like there were a lot of single viewers and couples. And everyone just sort of like walked out of the theater and just sort of stayed in the foyer. And like we all just kind of looked at each other and were like, I don't know you, but I have to tell someone that was awesome. They're like, yeah, that was really good. It was a great experience. I loved at the end when they did side-by-side comparisons of their recreations with the actual footage from The Room. If they had done nothing more but a fan recreation of The Room starring James Franco,
That'd be
I
impressive.
probably still would have watched that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
quite
that was really impressive how well they matched that stuff.
quite, and not only in like the action, but like the lighting was perfect. The camera
The sets,
and framing,
rebuilding the sets
Right.
exactly the same.
Yeah, that's what got me. It's like the sets. Like, how do they find that set?
Right.
How do they recreate that? Like, how do you do that? That's
good.
so specific.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Very well done.
So the Room is so good it's good.
Yeah.
The Disaster
Kind of.
Artist.
Sorry, the Disaster
I was
Artist
like, what?
is so good it's good, and it's a movie about The Room, which is so bad it's good.
Not so bad, it's bad.
Not so
No.
bad it's bad.
Which is a different genre.
Yeah,
Which is a very unfortunate genre.
you don't want to be in that category.
No.
But for one of our other projects, we spent a lot of time talking about this very topic.
Yes.
For our M. Night Shyamalan film and podcast. And it was interesting talking to people who specialize in bad movies.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So one of them was John Wilson, who is the founder of the Razzies. So he deals in bad movies every year. He actually seeks out the worst movies in Hollywood every year.
Right.
And when we asked him about movies that are so bad they're good, he said that one of the prerequisites is that you can't do it on purpose.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that there's been a lot of people who've tried. But it's only something that can happen when you're genuinely putting your heart into a certain effort. You're hoping for a certain kind of outcome. And it accidentally turns out a very different way.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Which is where you get all those cringeworthy like ads, right? Where you have advertising that's trying to make fun of like YouTube memes or something like that.
Oh, geez, yeah.
And they end up doing something just cringy.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to do it bad.
Yeah. Birdemic, the first Birdemic movie, is so bad it's good because, like you said, he wasn't intending to make a bad movie. He literally wanted to make a Hitchcock-style thriller.
Like disaster thriller.
Yeah. And that first film is kind of a fun watch because it's so funny, He made a second one, and you can tell he's
trying
it.
to tap into the magic.
He's trying to make this film bad on purpose, and because of it, it suffers completely.
I have to wonder what it is that comes through. If it's like why we can tell the difference.
Oh yeah,
I think it has to do with probably has to do with how you're directing the movie. I mean, you're going to direct the movie entirely differently and
true.
write it entirely differently. If the first movie he wrote and directed, he was trying to he was putting his genuine self into it, and it just so happens that his genuine self put on the screen is hilarious even if he doesn't want to. Right? His disingenuous self, him being not genuine,
right,
isn't hilarious.
No,
right.
it's
that's
bad
the difference,
and not fun to watch at all.
Disingenuous,
yeah. It's artificial,
right.
Right, and I guess that's what it all comes down to. In all these cases, in all these scenarios, what audiences respond to is genuine, real, artistic drive and emotion.
Right. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's people who can be like Tommy.
Right.
Be like Tommy and show your whole real self.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Expose your soul through your medium.
Which is why overproduced movies can feel overproduced, right? Like Justice League.
Right.
Like Superman versus Batman.
Yeah.
Batman versus Superman, whatever it's
Those
called.
films do not feel genuine.
Right. They
just feel mechanical.
They feel mechanical,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and the best films are always the best films because someone had a story that they just felt driven to tell, that they had to get out.
Right.
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 And I felt like The Disaster Artist is one of those too.
Oh
think
yeah,
so. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is really funny because The Room is extremely genuine, and The Disaster Artist is extremely genuine too, and they both reach the same level of quality, but through very different, like opposite directions.
Yeah.
Like they just go like it's like bam.
Another interesting thing that I think is worth talking about is that this is a buddy movie. This is and I don't mean that it's a buddy movie as in it's about two buddies who go off and have an adventure together. I mean this movie was made by a guy and his buddies.
Right. Yeah.
Right. This was made by a close-knit group of people. James Franco, his brother, his brother's wife, they're close friends,
right,
and people that they've regularly worked with.
Right.
The DP of the film has done almost all James Franco movies, or at least a good portion of them. And I guess the question it raises for me is that is there more strength in that sort of like I'm going to use my entourage, who I know really well and I'm close to, or in expanding out beyond the people you're used to working with and bringing in new talent and new connections.
Right. I think the close knit thing is better, and the reason why I think is because you get more auteur that way, right? You get more artistic vision when you have just the close knit people who are like, I want to do it this way. Yeah, let's do it this way. Yeah,
but it's also really easy that way to get blind to your like mistakes.
And an example would be like Michael Bay or who's the guy that we like, Aronofsky. Mm-hmm. Both of those guys are, I think, blinded by almost Guillermo del Toro too, but almost blinded by the way their stuff has been accepted, right? And M. Night would have been that way prior to his bad films.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes it definitely benefits the artist to grow outside their boundaries, but to make something that's more genuine, that's more felt, that's more heart driven, is definitely, I think, better to have it like tight,
I think that's true, but I also think it's quite an accomplishment for James Franco and his team to have come up with such a good movie while being kind of made in that vacuum.
Right. I think that's talent, actually, is what that is.
Yeah. I mean, that is an achievement.
Yeah.
To just have like all your best buds around.
Right.
And still come up with that great piece of art without that, without working with But I mean, what I was about to say, without working with like a producer or a DP is going to call you on your crap.
Yeah.
But maybe because they're that close, they are calling him on his crap.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe they are.
Yeah. So genuity is, I guess genuity is what we want in movies, right?
Absolutely.
Just like
Idea.
you want the heart in it.
Yeah. And that's actually one thing. Actually, that's probably the biggest thing that bothers me about Marvel movies is their lack of sincerity. Like too much joking around where nothing feels sincere.
See,
and that bothers me.
Thor Ragnarok felt like half both of that.
Yeah.
Like sincere and really not at the same time. It was really funny.
Yeah. And so that's what I liked about Disaster Artist is it's like super sincere. And that's what I'm kind of craving from movies right now. Just something very true and sincere.
Yes, that is a good way to put it, Taylor. Go see Disaster Artist to get a good dose of something that is true.
Yeah.
It is true and real. It's a good gulp of sincerity.
Yes. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Good gulp of sincerity. Like our spot now.
I'm really sad right now because I'm out. I drank it all.
Oh,
I don't have any more.
You're out of yerba mate?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I have one sip left.
I have a little bit left too.
Well, if we're out of yerba mate, I guess that can only mean one thing.
Get more yerba mate.
It's time for us to go get some more yerba mate. So I think we'll wrap up our conversation on the Disaster Artist with our concluding thoughts. Now, you just gave an awesome thought. Do you want to add anything?
Trumps anything I want.
I know. Go see it. One of the best movies of the year, I'd say.
Yeah.
Go see it.
Yeah. I'd agree. I think dose of sincerity, like you put it. I love it.
Yeah. With regards to The Room and The Disaster Artist, I think they should be seen in tandem.
Yeah.
I really don't think you can fully enjoy. It's weird because we've talked about before how a movie should just be a movie.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have to do with your context, with your experiences, in the past. Without, a movie should stand on its own.
Right.
And I think this movie does. I really do. It's just overall a strong, well-told story. But there's certainly an implied, deeper experience that it's meant for people who have seen The Room and have some inside knowledge about the phenomenon behind it.
I think that's good. I think that's fair.
Yeah. I think it's done well, and it's kind of an exception to that idea.
Well, I think the idea is a little different because it talks about, because you're referring to Death of the Author, right?
Yeah.
Where instead of, so if you were to say, watch Disaster Artist, but don't think it's made by James Franco, like that, I think that would be the thought. Mm-hmm. But instead, you want to watch the Disaster Artist, but know that it's referencing The Room.
Yeah.
That's what
So my recommendation is go see The Room. My recommendation is to go see The Room and then go see The Disaster Artist.
Yes.
And you will have a fantastic time.
Yes.
I'd rank this as my number 3 movie of the year. If we're counting, this is a 2017 movie. So for 2017, it's my number 3 film for sure.
I'd say it's definitely up there with me too.
Yeah, absolutely. Behind 2 Blade Runner, 1 Shape of Water?
Nope.
No?
Blade Runner is number 1 for me.
Oh.
Number 2 is Shape of Water.
Yeah.
Number 3. I know last episode I said Shape of Water was my favorite movie of the year, but I really thought about it and I decided that
Blade Runner
is my favorite movie. Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah.
Yes.
Takes the top spot, then Shape of Water, then Disaster Artist, and then mostly everything else I hated.
My top.
Yeah, pretty much. Same here.
My top 15 is Wonder Woman. Hands down.
15.
And then after that, Mother. Just several more times.
I might put Mother as my number 4.
I'd put Mother up there in top 5 at least.
I like Mother.
There's still a couple. Anyway.
Guys, it's been a privilege as always.
Absolutely.
Let's go get yerba mate wasted, shall we?
Absolutely.
We shall.
Until then, I'm Kenny.
I'm D.
And I'm Taylor.
We'll see y'all at the Talkies.
Woo!
That was us clinking our cans together.
Thank you for listening to watching another episode of The Talkies. If you are interested in seeing more exciting content from us knuckleheads at Carmen Line Studios, please visit our website, carmenlinestudios.film. We've got a couple other really cool podcasts, namely WTF M. Night Shyamalan.
What's that about?
That is all about M. Night Shyamalan.
Wow.
It is a it's a mind-bending trip through movie land where we will challenge your perceptions of reality while discussing the life and career of M. Night Shyamalan.
But is it sincere?
Oh. I don't know.
We forgot to put sincerity into it.
It's very weird.
I forgot to be
is.
sincere. It is weird, isn't it?
It's extremely weird.
It's very weird. We really tried to break the conventions of storytelling with that podcast, and I think we've succeeded. People tend to like it.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's any kind of podcast that's quite like
There's
it.
nothing like it. I can promise you that. There's nothing like it.
At least the second episode on.
Yeah.
First episode, it makes you go, oh, yeah, I think I know what this is. Nope.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
You've got no idea. And then we have our video games podcast, Confirmed.
Yes, sir. Welcome back.
Well, we made it.
We made it.
Hosted by these two guys, Dee and Taylor. New episode every month, talking about a different video game each time.
Deep dive into the analysis of video games.
Yeah, and it is very well done. Highly recommend it. Subscribe at our YouTube channel for all kinds of interesting content. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. And keep in touch. See you next time.
Yep. See ya.
You ought to be in pictures. You're wonderful to see. You ought to be in pictures. Oh, what a hit you would be. Your voice would thrill a nation.